is up, everybody? It's December 30th. A little bit over 36 hours until the biggest college football daily fantasy tournament starts, and that's why we're here. I've got with me Benjamin Pritchett, aka Natural Slugger. That is his FI gang sign. Ben does the article for InsidersTV, and it's just not out yet, so you have to listen to what he says. And then we also have Davis Maddock, who's just a degenerate, and guys, he's tired. He is really tired. So we need to cut him some slack and just go with the flow. We have some big tournaments to talk about. Mainly going to talk about FanDuel, but you also have Draft Street with the tournament, and then the cash bowl on DraftKings. So it's going to be a fun, like, these bowl games, they suck. They really do. And these tournaments are like, it's going to be the only way to really have any action in these bowl games. It's the first and the sixth on most of them, so it's going to be a fun thing. Ben, are you excited about this? Like, or are you like kind of sad it's coming to an end?
Yeah, man. It's kind of good and bad at the same time. I'm enjoying it kind of coming to an end. I love bowl season. I differ from you. I actually like it. I think it changes everything up. You have to strategize differently. You have to approach everything differently. And but yeah, it's kind of sad that I don't know what I'm going to do for the next 2 or 3 months until we get to baseball season. So yeah, that's sad.
Davis, I know you're sad.
I am sad. Yeah, because now when I punt all my money on taking some shots that I shouldn't take, it's gonna be a lot harder to build that roll back up in one weekend.
Dink says, "Don't you want to pick up basketball, Ben? Look at Davis."
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah, look how happy this is making me. I played 3 DFS sports today, so life's good.
I'll just go ahead and tell you right now, Ben and pick up basketball don't go in the same sentence, okay?
What the hell are you trying to say there?
I'm saying that Ben has the girliest set shot in the history of girly set shots.
Is it prettier than Andre Miller's set shot?
It is prettier than Miller's set shot, Kendall Marshall's set shot. Like, he even does the step and the elbow in. And then, kind of, here, I need to get the full screen going. Step, elbow in, out. And then he kind of does the jazz hands afterwards.
You got to put your hand in the cookie jar.
Reach into the cookie jar. Yep.
Oh God, dude, I would make fun of you so hard if I played with you.
I would ball all over you, Davis.
No, you would not. I'm actually pretty good at basketball.
Oh my goodness. I would swat that shit, dude.
No, I've played with people taller than me since I was 12, man. I don't get my shot blocked.
This guy is freaking Cordero Patterson's Eskimo brother. He is good at basketball just from that.
I've actually played basketball with him before.
Wow.
Speaking of cookie jar. Oh, man. Let's go ahead and just talk just get right into the game. Quarterback. Ben, who are you looking at quarterback this week? Again, if you don't know, game started on Wednesday. So we're talking about it. Usually we talk the night before, but they don't start tomorrow, really. They start on Wednesday. I guess you can get into some tomorrow if you wanted to. Yeah. But we're not talking about that.
No, we're not. We're not talking about Johnny Manziel. I wish we were talking about Johnny Manziel versus Duke because that would be sweet. But no, we're not talking about that. High-priced quarterbacks, my favorite is Taj Boyd. There's news coming out this week. Roby's nursing an injury, the best corner for Ohio State. And their best defensive end, who's number 2 in the Big Ten in sacks with 8, is going to be out. Didn't travel with the team. Noah Spence. So you're looking at a team that already is letting like offenses like Michigan State throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns against them. They're already, letting these nothing offenses move the ball. Well, you got to expect Clemson's going to have no problems moving the ball. So Taj Boyd is my number one guy. He's a little bit cheaper than some of the other options that are at that range, that 10 plus K range. So I really like him. You have the obvious with Winston and Miller. Those are just easy calls. Miller's getting 200 yards rushing, pretty much with ease. 130 plus yards rushing every single game, 2 touchdowns rushing. So it doesn't even matter what he's doing passing the football. Davis loves these boys, and he's that guy for you. And Clemson's defense isn't that great. So Miller's going to do his thing, and Winston might actually have a game where he has to compete. So if he's having to compete, we got to think he's going to actually put up some numbers, but we have yet to really see it. He wins by 2+ touchdowns in every single game. So I don't know what's going to happen with the Florida State offense if Auburn actually gives them a game, which I think they will. So those are my high price guys. I'm curious to see who Davis likes out of these guys.
Yeah, I think Jameis Winston, if I was spending, would probably be the guy. Brax is sort of a hard call because I feel like him and Carlos Hyde sort of alternate like huge monster games, and I don't think Clemson is that great. What is the thinking of these big coaches in games like this? Do they run up the score? Do they take it easy? Like I'm not experienced enough with college football to know if like running up the, because I know during the regular season you have to try and improve your positioning, but I don't know what the theory is with these coaches in big games.
Well, look at Teddy Bridgewater. What we saw, and this is why I like Teddy Bridgewater in that game, and I ran him out, is because he's a guy that needed to showcase himself. He needed this last big game. If he was going to go pro, he needed to have that opportunity. And you saw in that game that Charlie Strong kept using him. He was out there till 2 minutes left when they were up by 5 touchdowns.
No, they threw with under a minute 30 seconds left.
No kidding. And it was awesome. Don't get me wrong. I had a terrible team other than him and the Parker. Yeah. Him
Devontae.
And Parker. Other than him and Parker, I was shot, and I wound up cashing in a GPP just because of them. And so it was great. But I will differ from you when you brought up Braxton Miller and Carlos Hyde. You would think that they take off production from each other, but if you look at Braxton Miller, he has put up 180. We're starting at the Illinois game, 184 yards rushing, 144 against Indiana, 153 against Michigan, and then last game 142 against Michigan State. Well, then you go over to Carlos Hyde and you look at his rushing totals. 246, 117, 226, 118. Monster games, maybe they rotate a little bit, but consistent, awesome games, they've stayed with each other, even though they both are running the football, which is incredibly impressive. And Auburn is not that great defensively. They keep every
Clemson.
team in game. Yeah, I'm sorry, Clemson. Sorry, Clemson's not that good defensively.
Auburn's
Same thing goes for Auburn. Yeah, Auburn's worse. So so you got, that's when Jameis Winston. I'm interested to see if we'll ever see Winston run, because he can. We just don't ever get to see it. And Bryce Petty's another good example of a guy that can move the ball with his legs, and he's got Tevin Reese back. So all these, high-priced guys, you could just pretty much dartboard it. Even Keith Winning, Ball State versus Arkansas State. I love how that
was the guy I wanted to talk about. If I was spending money on a guy, which I'm not going to be spending at quarterback, but Winning would probably be the guy that I would fire that bullet with, because I've rostered him several times on FanDuel. They do not give a shit. They will keep throwing all game, and there's no way Arkansas State.
No, I'm with you 100%. But the only thing with Winning is, like you said, they'll throw all day long. But I think that Arkansas State's going to lend itself to getting beat on the ground, and I think Ball State. Now this is just guessing. I think they use their running back a lot more than they have in the last few weeks. Obviously the Miami of Ohio game, he threw for 6 touchdowns. If he can do that again, he's great, but he doesn't run the ball at all. He's totally touchdown dependent. If Juwan Edwards runs in and
Juwan Edwards got nicked in the last game, which was part of the reason that he threw for 6, but he's back now. I checked.
So there you go. So Edwards is back, and Arkansas State's like almost 100th in running back defense. So you got to think Edwards is a good play there at the running back, and Winning's going to lose some of that luster when you compare him against some of these other dudes. And Aaron Murray's out, so don't touch Aaron Murray. He's in the player pool, but don't touch him.
And don't touch his mom either.
Yeah, don't touch his mom.
Don't want to go there.
Or talk about his girlfriend.
Just looking at some of the spreads and the total points, you're right. That Texas A&M game would have been very, very nice. Baylor and UCF. Davis, you love Blake Bortles.
No. I don't like Blake Bortles, and apparently I'm catching flack about this. A couple people talked. He's not that good. I wouldn't roster him against Baylor. Baylor's defense is not a joke.
Yeah, they score quickly though. I always get scared with defenses that deal with their offensive counterparts score quickly, because that means they're on the field a lot. Gives Bortles a lot of chances to score, even if he's playing comeback football.
Well, you have Florida State, who is supposed to score 38 points. They're an 8.5-point favorite if you're going by Vegas. So you talked about Jameis. If you want to play in these big tournaments, like we should probably let people. A lot of people that are watching the show are not playing in cash games. They're playing in some sort of tournaments or GPPs for this bowl game edition. So we're wanting to go balls to the wall. As far as these wide receivers for Florida State, you've got Shaw, you've got Benjamin. Rashad Green. Of those three,
Rashad Green's price is amazing. He's 5.1. I'm all over Rashad Green.
Like all over?
Like all over.
That's what's up. Ben, who are you all over?
Benjamin.
You didn't really like him earlier.
No, it's not that I didn't like him. I was just afraid that he was kind of just flashing, just kind of being a flash in the pan. But he's getting tons of targets and the past few games, and he's scoring lots of touchdowns. And Auburn can't match up with him. He's 6'5", 230. He's huge, and he plays huge. I'm interested to see. He kind of reminds me of, dare I say it, Calvin Johnson in how big he is. I don't know how fast he'll time, but in how big he is, how big he plays. Nobody can match up with him. Winston loves him these days. That's been the biggest reason why Rashad Green's production has fallen off, is because Winston's not even looking at Green anymore. He's throwing over to Benjamin, and in the last game he also threw a lot to Shaw. So it's really hard nailing the right two, but Benjamin for sure is the guy, and he's only 7.4K, so it's not like you're breaking the bank to get him, considering how amazing he's been lately.
Yeah, I think. Are you wanting to? Is it possible to get Benjamin and Green on the same team?
Oh, it's easy. You could easily put Winston, Green, Benjamin, have good running backs, probably like an Edwards and somebody else in that range, that 7,100 to 7,300-ish, 74. I mean, even Jeremy Hill or something like that. I don't like Jeremy Hill personally, but you could run those kind of running backs out, put in another cheap tight end, and you could put together a nice GPP play and just kind of shoot a dart at a board and see what happens. That's kind of your style, though, isn't it, Kitchen? That's how you like to play it.
Yeah, I figure that with this slate, I have 10 entries to this college football tournament, and you want to kind of mix it up if you have multiple entries. If you only have one entry, you just really only have one shot, and you just try to gauge which one of those combinations is going to be the best. But if you have multiple entries, you can. I mean, obviously there's Nick O'Leary in this equation as well. So you've got.
He's too expensive, I think, for this set. I don't know even if I had like 5 or 6 teams, I don't think I would roster him.
And see, that may be what everybody's thinking. So he goes off. You have him in a lineup. Boom, bam. You've got a nice little start. So there's 4 options. Those 3 receivers that we mentioned plus O'Leary. If Winston throws for 5 or 6 touchdowns, and you get the combination that is right with those 2 receivers, or a receiver and a tight end, then you automatically are going to have a leg up on the competition. I know that college football is different than NFL in the sense that it's a lot more spread out, and you have video game numbers. But even look at the big DraftKings tournament, where last week, or I guess 8 days ago, where you had only really one quarterback, maybe two quarterbacks if you played Peyton with Demaryius Thomas, but you had Andy Dalton and A.J. Green. I mean, if you had anybody else, you were pretty much screwed. You had to have the guy that went off, and everybody that had A.J. Green or had Andy Dalton had A.J. Green. And then it was just a matter of which one of those other picks was going to bring them through. So you've got to get the quarterback and wide receiver right first and foremost, I think. Especially in this slate, you just have to, if you want to win this thing, you've got to nail the quarterback and the wide receiver. And I've talked about this many times, but wide receiver, it's really the core in FanDuel. I don't know why I did this, but I did. But it is the core in FanDuel. So as far as wide receivers go, what are some of the wide receivers that you guys are looking at this week?
Number one, your boy Jordan Matthews. That he is the play for me.
Oh,
you already know he has a sick floor. Like, his floor is this. It was the same thing we talked about the last time we did the show with Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, he got 19 points, which didn't necessarily pay off of his tag, but that's the sort of floor you're looking at with Jordan Matthews. I think that is my guy for sure. That's sort of where I'm starting my lineups from. Now Ben's about to tell me how bad Patton Robinette is.
So he's so bad.
I'm the one who told Ben. Asked me if I was interested in rostering Patton Robinette, and I said no, because he's not that good. I mean, he's just not. And when he was in the game, when he was starting, Matthews' numbers went way down, and they were all like little dink and dump passes. And they're going to try to establish
11 catches, 13 catches, 12 catches in his last 3 games, over 125 yards his last 3 games as well.
That was with Austin Carter Samuels, though.
Yeah, that was with Carter Samuels, and so they both kind of shared duties. But the only time that really Robinette went in is on 3rd and short situations whenever
to run the ball.
He was expected to run, and a few times they tried to pass, but no. I mean, Carter Samuels had a busted ACL, so when it was just Robinette, you had these. They were just looking. They weren't looking vertical. It was all horizontal plays, and so that's why I think that Matthews is a definite risk for what his price tag is.
I did a little research on this of Patton Robinette with Matthews. And I looked at the 3 games where Robinette saw meaningful snaps, meaning I looked at only the ones where he had over 6 completions, and which for him is meaningful snaps. He had a game where he had 6 completions, 9 completions, and 15 completions. They were all lumped together when ACS went down the last time. And against Texas A&M, he had 216 yards passing. 92 of that and 8 catches went to Jordan Matthews. He had another one. I have to look up who it was against, but he had 107 yards passing. 29 of that was in relief of Austin Carter Samuels. 29 of that went to Jordan Matthews, and then the other game was 57 and 45 of that went to Jordan Matthews. So it's not like he's not targeting him. He's targeting him. It's almost 50% of his production's going to Jordan Matthews, but it's not going to be huge numbers. There's no way in this world he puts up 150 yards.
He's the cheapest. Robinette is the cheapest of the usable quarterbacks. No.
Yes.
At $4,900.
He's the only other minimum. I thought there for a second that Arkansas State's Adam Kennedy was questionable, but the more I researched it, it doesn't look like he is. But yeah, I think he's the only minimum option.
So here's what I would say about Robinette is that if you wanted to play him, great, but don't pair him with Matthews, because I don't think that Matthews is capable of a 200-yard game with Robinette. I would play Robinette and then just go kind of studs everywhere else that you could, because Robinette is his biggest strength is going to be kind of on the ground and hopefully getting maybe one of those little dump off passes to go touchdowns. But I mean, this is not going to be a high scoring game. Mm-hmm. That's why I also think people suggesting O'Korn for Houston, not a good idea. Bob Shoop, the defensive coordinator for Vanderbilt, is an Ivy League guy. Like he is very smart, and if you give him enough time to game plan, he's going to, like the nightmare that was Houston's offensive season during the middle of the season when they thought about benching O'Korn. That's going to happen again. They're going to bring lots of blitzes. They're healthy. The secondary is healthy for Vanderbilt, so I wouldn't suggest using O'Korn at 7,100 either. So there you have it. That's what I feel about. That's probably my most meaningful conversation that I can.
There's so many other cheap options though. Just if you pay $1,000 more for your quarterback, so to even think about doing a minimum price quarterback is silly to me.
Yeah, of those that middle tier, you got to think that, like you said. I mean, if you're talking about paying $800 more, there are better options. Dink Piece says, "Did Mettenberger die? Why is he so cheap? Do you suggest taking Mettenberger?"
No, yeah, he's definitely dead. Don't take Mettenberger. Anthony Jennings is the play.
So excited.
Dual threat quarterback, running up against an Iowa defense that has been good this year, but they have nothing to go on. Nobody knows much about Anthony Jennings other than he gets compared to like Braxton Miller, and he's drawn some other comparisons in that he's really, really fast and he's mobile and he has a decent enough arm. We saw in that one little drive we've gotten to actually see him play, but he's special. And so, yeah, he's 5,700. He's really in there as a great play. You can build a great team around him. He's definitely in there. I would almost argue that you could even look in the Nebraska-Georgia game if you wanted to fade the running backs and go with the quarterbacks. Both those quarterbacks are around that same price tag. Tommy Armstrong's 5,100 and Hudson Mason's 5,600. So both those guys are decently priced. So, yeah, those are options. Me personally, I know Davis will just about in 1 second agree with me on this. I like Anthony Jennings much more than those because he does have the running threat. And on FanDuel, that is very important. And I think he's game for 2 touchdowns, and one of them is going to be on the rushing side.
Yeah.
I mean, he's no Marquise Williams, but the exposure that I have to him this weekend in cash games and in this tournament is going to be Marquise Williams-esque.
So in the receiver department, I'm not paying for Greenberry or Matthews. We just talked about Watkins. I don't mind. You've got your boy Willie Snead that you talked about earlier in the season against Arkansas State. He's the highest priced receiver.
Dude, his price is shot up, but deservedly so. He has a huge game every single week.
Yes, against Arkansas State, you have to think though, at this much time, they will be trying to game plan around that. But he is a possession receiver. And so if this was PPR, he would be a lot more valuable than the half-point PPR. He's not one of those big, deep threats. As far as that guy, you have to look really at this Baylor game. Let's take a second to talk about this UCF-Baylor game. How many points are going to be scored in this game, Ben?
Ooh. What's the over-under by Vegas? What are they saying?
Over-under is 69, with Baylor being projected at 42.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, it's really good. I would say I'm leaning towards Baylor blowing them out, though. I think it's going to be a 3-4 touchdown win for Baylor. The reason why is if you look at the production of their team when Tevin Reese was on the field as to oppose when he wasn't, it was just dramatic how much their offense kind of hit struggles especially Antoine Goodley. When I was writing up Antoine Goodley earlier, I did this little math work. I'm good at that. Goodley averaged 127.7 yards per game when Tevin Reese was on the field, which you'd think that would draw touches away from him. But actually, when Reese was out of the game, he only averaged 85 yards per game. So Reese is back. He should be healthy. You're going to see Goodley's performance spike. You're going to see Petty play more like he did in the early part of the season. And it's just a good matchup for them. Even with UCF has had some success against other teams. I like Goodley and Petty a lot. Reese isn't available, unfortunately.
Reese is not available?
No.
Yeah, he's not in the game set. It's really weird.
Yeah, they didn't price him, which probably is because they didn't know what to do, and this is a big tournament. I give them a little leeway on this one.
Okay. Well, that sucks. As far as the running back situation goes, that's kind of a big jumbled mess. You think is Seastrunk the clear player as far as who you would want to own?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of Glasgow Martin at all.
I am. Since he's been back, they've been sharing the work, and Seastrunk hasn't been that good.
No, you got to think though. These are one of those plays where health matters. And you're talking about a month layoff. A guy like Lake Seastrunk has really been dealing with injuries, and now he's had enough time to get healthy. So I imagine fresh, healthy, Lake Seastrunk's a beast. I'm just one of those people. I've seen enough of him play. I really like him a lot. Glasgow Martin, I'm unimpressed by. He's a between the tackles runner that he can get you 5 yards, but when it comes to fantasy, he's not going to get you a huge amount. I know he did well last game. Who did they play against? Was it Texas that they played last?
Yes.
Yeah, and he had 100 yards, and he outperformed Lake, but Lake was struggling with injuries if you watch that game, so sorry. I like Lake Seastrunk, but I also think that they're gonna do more like what they did in the past, so not a whole lot of carries to go around. They're going to be throwing a lot. So it's 15 carries, 7 to Glasgow. That's not really worth it to me. I'd rather spend on somebody else.
Oh yeah, I wasn't saying you should play Glasgow. Just if I had 10 entries, that Lake wouldn't be someone that I would put on a bunch of more than 2 teams.
That price is really, when I was working with pricing and stuff with the quarterbacks I was using, that 8,100 is kind of, if it's alluring to you, you need to look at Trey Mason against Florida State. I mean, just take the shot because, I know FSU is nasty, but Trey Mason destroyed Alabama, and he embarrassed Missouri. So you're not talking about a guy that can't do it against the best teams. So
we should also probably note that you have a big crush on Trey Mason.
I love him so much. He was
the poster boy during championship week, and he just absolutely went off.
Yeah, he was low. He wasn't owned everywhere, and I had him on every single team.
Well, he was the poster boy for your article, so it was a good day. Like you got really close to the computer screen all night that night, like Davis does. Davis, you're looking up something. Do you care to share with us?
I'm just kind of looking around at stuff. Running back was harder for me to figure out than it was for Ben. I think I didn't. Obviously, so you can't play any running back from the Stanford Michigan game. That's just a bad spot. But I really like Gurley, and I kind of like Yeldon against my Sooners. It's just, to me, I always prefer to spend on wide receivers in tournaments. So finding a mid-price guy that you like is pretty important in this set, I think.
Yeah, you got to look. You got to look at those big, I guess, the explosive players, and that's why I have been on record saying I'm a big Josh Stewart fan. So Josh Stewart against Missouri is 4,800.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, are you frozen?
Am I frozen?
Yeah, he is.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
It wasn't as good as Nap's giggle face, but it was.
You were. It looked like you were waiting for me to say something. I was like, "What am I about to say?" But no. Josh Stewart, 4,800, and there's talk about him using this game to propel himself into the NFL draft because he had a terrible season. And at Media Day, he was talking about that. So, how does the NFL draft kind of affect this slate of games? And two-part question is, I want to hear some of the explosive players, maybe cheaper explosive players that you guys would look at rostering. Ben, I'll let you take the whole angle of entering early.
No, that's a really good question. When you approach the bowl games, one thing I've learned really quickly is this year, especially as I've kind of adjusted. When during the season, I spent a lot of times focusing on defensive matchups, how a team has played, who they've played, how they played them. That kind of way is how I've figured out what kind of players I liked, and there's a lot of research time and stuff. With this bowl series, I've kind of thrown a lot of that out of the window. Like, I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, big disappointment for the most part all year. I mean, yeah, he was consistent, but he's always highly priced, and he never really did a lot. When we came into the bowl season, you're thinking, oh, he's going to get drafted. He needs to put that exclamation point on, and he performed well in the bowl last year. So you got to think about these guys that are really trying to put that face forward. Like you said, Josh Stewart, if he's saying that, then you got to take him at his word. He's going to try to really play as hard as he can, and so I automatically give a guy like that some looks. I hear that same kind of rumbling coming out of Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham, who are pretty cheap. You got to think DGB out of Missouri is going to be doing that same kind of thing. Although I think he's got one more year.
Yeah, he's a sophomore, but Bruce Ellington is the other guy.
Bruce Ellington, oh my goodness, he's already pretty much declared.
No, he hasn't because he plays basketball for South Carolina. Did you hear he received his draft grade and hasn't opened up his letter. He's not going to open up till after he gets back from the game. That's crazy. You've got like your whole life ahead of you saying should you enter or not. So he's either going to enter the draft after he gets home and opens up that letter of where scouts say he's at, or he's going to go back to playing basketball for South Carolina and stay another year. It's crazy, though, because he came in here. He didn't play football his first year at South Carolina. He was just a point guard. Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see where they grade him, honestly. I mean, Davis may be a little bit more familiar with the draft transition than I am, but I don't know how he'll grade out.
The draft board is they gave Devontae Adams a third-round grade. Like, if I was a GM, sign me up for that dude in the first round.
I agree.
A baller.
I agree with that. I agree with him as a third rounder.
I'm sorry.
I do. Devontae Adams, I agree with as a third rounder. So whoever gave him that grade,
get out of here, natural slugger.
No, I am. I'm with him on that. Get Kelvin Benjamin.
Have you seen his catch radius?
It's like a Vitruvian man.
That's Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks. He's got that catch radius.
Oh man. But yeah, those are guys. Sammy Coates, another explosive player.
That's who I was gonna say. He's in my lineup right now. That game, they're gonna be trailing. They're gonna be up against an explosive offense. They're gonna have to throw. Sammy Coates is dumb cheap, 4.9. He's their leading receiver. I really, really like him.
Ben.
He's lightning in a bottle. I mean, you're really just praying that they throw, and then you're also praying that they throw against those corners for Florida State that are sick. So I don't know. I'm not gonna get behind Sammy Coates, but I understand the reasoning. He definitely is lightning in a bottle. If you're looking for that, he's your guy. Give me a Michael Bennett from Georgia who's stable, and I know I can expect maybe 2 touchdowns. He's more like a spark in a bottle. I'll take my spark in a bottle at 4,800.
But here's the thing. Sammy Coates might be a gamer, Ben. He might be a gamer. 6 for 94 and 1 in the SEC championship game. 5 for 104 and a touchdown versus A&M. He sort of fits under your gamer theory.
No, and I don't disagree. I really think he's great. I'm not gonna. I mean, his stats are great. If you look, though, he's only had 38 catches this year for 841 yards. Yeah, that's awesome, but man, but you're right. He could be a gamer. I'm with you. You're exactly right. I just don't think I'll do it personally.
Yeah.
But Rontavious Wooten, you can throw him in this mix from Georgia. He's a minimum priced, and doesn't look like they're going to have Conley, who's the other wide receiver beside Michael Bennett. So if Hudson Mason's throwing the ball, he's there. But there's those 5K guys are much more appealing to me. When you say Davis, I mean, there's the 5K guys. You got Kenny Shaw, you got Rashad Green at 5,100, you got Tracy Moore at 5,200, who I like better than Josh Stewart. He's the big boy. Tracy Moore's the big boy. So, I like those guys more.
There's just a lot of cheap options, which is going to allow you to spend on your running back. Ben, did someone send you a message?
Yes.
Yes, me too. Mr. Tuttle is having fun.
Trolling. Mr. Tuttle loves to troll the college football show.
He just loves to troll in general. It's like, I think he didn't used to be like that until you kind of appeared, Davis. It's like he took the trolling gene from you.
I'm so happy.
Expensive running backs. Obviously, the one you talked about being Trey Mason, but if someone does not want to go against that Florida State defense, other running backs that you might want to spend on, Carlos Hyde, is he in play?
No, very much in play. And TJ Yeldon's in play. Davis and I try not to talk about Todd Gurley too much. Best running back in college football. He's not even close. But in this situation, I tend to. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to roster him. He's 9.7K, so I will roster him at least. But he's a stud. So he's in play. I'm paying for my running backs. I'm differing from Davis. I'm paying for running backs across the board on all three of my entries. Probably 5 entries I'm going to have. So all of them are going to have expensive running backs. So Juwan Edwards, T.J. Yeldon, Todd Gurley, Trey Mason. You could even throw Tyler Gaffney in there, although that is a ballsy play.
He's gonna be super 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 low owned, and you're only doing this if you have like 10 teams.
Yes.
But that's totally the contrarian move. That if it hits, it's gonna pay. It's gonna pay big.
And Michigan State, I mean, they got ran on by Nebraska. Amir Abdullah ran for 130 yards on them. Last week, Braxton Miller and Carlos Hyde went for over 100 yards against them. It's not like they're impenetrable, although they are only averaging like 2-3 yards a carry. Teams are against them. But Gaffney, they'll run him. It doesn't matter if they have 3 yards a carry. If he gets 40 carries, that's plenty.
And he might. For real might.
So that's 120 yards. Touchdown or 2. I mean, you got your value. It doesn't matter that you got him on 40 carries.
I would rather play Gaffney than any of their passing game. I'd probably say that.
No, hell no.
No.
Don't touch him.
As far as I'm concerned, if you're like me and you're only going to play like 3 entries, probably Stanford and Michigan State is not even on your board.
I'm with him.
You have some of those other running backs. Storm Johnson against Baylor. Really, he is all they have. Your thoughts on Storm Johnson at 7,600, Ben?
I'm just not a fan of his.
So
I don't like the way he plays. I'm not a fan.
Oh, so. I disagree. I like the way he plays, but not. They're gonna. UCF is gonna get kind of exposed in this game, I think.
All right.
Totally agree with that. I think they're gonna get beat.
The next game is this Wisconsin-South Carolina game. Ben, are you gonna go with Melvin Gordon again?
Back to Storm Johnson. I'm looking at it against SMU. He had 37 yards and rushing and 39 yards receiving, no touchdowns. In South Florida, he had 62 yards, 2 yards receiving, no touchdowns.
He was hurt.
And the guy's crap. Temple. I mean, he's had a couple 100-yard games. He's just not. I don't like it. So, who are we talking about? Melvin Gordon.
I'm talking about the running back situation
I love Melvin Gordon
in that Wisconsin-South Carolina game.
No,
but
I love Melvin Gordon.
He's the backup, like straight up.
Yeah,
I would like to fire a bullet if I was like Dave and playing 10 teams. I would fire 1 bullet with him. But like for my couple teams, I'm not considering him.
He's 7,200. So you're saying that by taking him, you're putting him with Mike Davis, Jeremy Hill, Juwan Edwards, Henry Josie. I mean, you just can't do that. Even Devontae Freeman is a safer play. I mean, to go Melvin Gordon. You're basically saying I think James White is going to get stuffed, or they're going to run for 400 yards, and I don't think either of those things are going to happen.
It's not like Stav's going to throw the ball.
No, he's not. He will throw it to Aberderis. That's it.
So Mike Davis, though, stick with this game here. Stick with.
I can't focus.
Stick with.
Can't focus.
Wisconsin and South Carolina, the running back situation. Do you like James White? Do you like Mike Davis? The two starters.
Mike Davis.
You do like Mike Davis?
Yes. He's another one of those guys that has had a lot of carries, needs to get healthy. These are the guys I like. I like Amir Abdullah against Georgia at this little price range. He's my number one at this mid-range price range. Once you get under 8K, Amir Abdullah is my guy. Obviously, he's almost 8K, but he has put up 100 yards against the toughest teams. And did I get distracted again, David? I'm going off on Abdullah.
It's okay. I'm trying to get you to talk about one game, and you keep on going to every other game.
Well, when we talk about one guy, I just want to say that there's a guy I like better than that guy before we start talking about that guy. Because Mike Davis against Wisconsin, that's a tough call. I mean, Wisconsin's defense is really good. And just to go with Mike Davis, who has struggled lately, especially, I mean, let's see what he did against Clemson. I mean, 15 carries, 22 yards, and a touchdown against Clemson. The week before that against Florida, it was 13 for 54. So he's been dealing with some injuries, but still, that's tough. And to pay $7,300 for him, you've really got to. But he's like, if I'm going to throw a single bullet, like Davis was saying about doing with Melvin Gordon, if I'm going to do that and take the risk, with your 10 entries, that's a good one to throw out. Is Mike Davis, for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're talking about 20 running backs slots. Yeah, let's put them in one. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for telling me that I can play.
You can. You have my permission. But Henry Josie fits that bill too.
Oh my God,
gosh!
Man. What guys don't you like?
What is it with you and freaking Henry Josie?
No, here's the deal. I'm gonna put all my cards out on the table. I have 3 teams done right now. I'll tell you all of my running backs: T.J. Yeldon, Juwan Edwards. Hold on, I'm looking them all up. Todd Gurley. I have 2. Let's see. I have 3 teams. I have 2 ownerships of Yeldon, a Gurley, a Juwan Edwards, Amir Abdullah, and I have 1 Lake Seastrunk. So if we're talking about all these other guys, those are all the only ones I actually own.
So you really are spending, is what you're saying?
Yes. I'm not going cheap on one. Not one. Except for Juwan Edwards at $7,100. That's the cheapest it gets.
Yep.
What about the Oklahoma State running back situation? Are we going to get snubbed again if we choose to roll with Desmond Rolland?
He rushed for 144 yards last week against Oklahoma. Last game against Oklahoma.
I hate them so much because in the first big score I rolled with Rennie Childs, who was like all week was rumored to get all the touches, and then Rolland goes off for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, and I was like, oh God, what could have been? Like it was brutal.
So basically, what I'm hinting at is that this Missouri team just gave up a lot of yards to Trey Mason. Not saying that Rolland is the equivalent of Trey Mason. However, they gave up a lot of yards, and you have to think that we've seen Rolland get a lot of yards. That game, Davis, that you're talking about, he did get a lot of yards. So I'm just trying to figure out with this team that I'm creating as far as middle, like if you don't want to spend really expensive running backs, some of the middle tier running backs that you might want to spend on. Ryan Jackson for Houston is another GPP tournament play. We've seen what he can do at the beginning of the season, and Vanderbilt typically has problems with those type of running backs.
Those pass-catching running backs?
Yes. But, again, if Vanderbilt's healthy, they have their linebackers back, so it would be strictly a GPP play. As far as the tight end position, this is the position
I want to give out one GPP running back.
Go for it.
Terrence McGee for LSU. He's had a couple games this year where he's just exploded for a bunch of touchdowns. They use him a lot. Ben is already disagreeing with me. But yeah, he's very cheap. He's 5.3. Very rarely are you going to get a running back for 5.3 who's like a real part of his team's offense, but he falls under that classification. I'm not saying I'm not rostering him, but if you were so inclined, I wouldn't tell you that you were wrong for doing so.
That's I mean, it's a ballsy play.
Yeah, I know who he is just because there was a few times where I had Jeremy Hill, and I'm like, who is this guy getting all these rushes? Like it was really annoying.
I think you'd be better served to, if you're going to just play that game, stand back is more my backup that I'm looking at that price range.
Yeah.
Do you know Central Florida?
Because you hate Storm Johnson.
I hate him.
Ben
he also
does
doesn't
not.
get a whole lot of looks inside the 20. Like it seems like they want stand back in there when it comes down to the close to the goal line. So I mean, he did earlier in the year, but he hasn't been getting them as much lately.
As far as the tight end position, can we move on to tight end, guys?
Yeah,
Yes, David.
Okay, thank you. Tight end. Who do you like at tight end, Ben?
None of them. But if you're gonna go,
You've got to play at least one.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
There was a really unfortunate pricing error. OU basically has not used the tight end since Gresham left, but somehow their third string tight end is 4.1K, and Taylor McNamara, who doesn't even play, is 3.5K, which is I just thought that was funny that they screwed that up.
Yeah, I don't know why some of these guys are as high. I mean, there's only a few that are you can even think about using, really. You got Fedorovich from Iowa, Fakes, Hurman, O'Leary, Peterson, Lynch, Uzuma. I mean, then it gets really hairy. You got Josiah Price, and then O.J. Howard and Calvin Klein. That's it.
O'Leary.
Yeah, you've got to deal with these guys. It's just a bunch of crap. There's nothing good to really do with your tight end. So I've been punting it.
But when you're talking about punting, that's why I would go O'Leary.
Yeah, I was wrong on his price earlier. O'Leary is like the play. I think you got to use him.
I'd rather have Peterson at that price. O'Leary's slightly behind.
And
Peterson.
yes, he did say Calvin Klein. There is a guy whose name is Calvin Klein.
I would put Arthur Lynch over all both of those, especially with Conley out. Arthur Lynch has been coming on lately.
Lynch over O'Leary?
Yes.
You cray.
Can we do a Photoshop bet on that?
You so cray.
No, I'm not letting you get your Photoshop done, and then we'll talk about doing Photoshop.
No, okay. I will get mine done, but then it's your turn because you're wrong on this.
Ben, do you have any love for O.J. Howard?
Yes, O.J. Howard is my tight end on two of my teams already.
Oh,
He's
gosh.
my punt.
I was just kidding.
He's my punt play. He is. I mean, and I'm not gonna do the bet with Arthur Lynch because I don't know Hudson Mason. I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. I don't know what Hudson Mason is gonna do as a quarterback. I would feel safer if it was Aaron Murray, but O'Leary is he's sporadic. He's so sporadic.
Okay, 3 for 48, 3 for 52, and then you had these two bad games against Nevada and Idaho, or really Idaho. Nevada's not there. He had 1 for 13. Other than that, 3 for 55 and 1, 3 for 37, 3 for 45. Like he's going to get, and then you had that Clemson game where he's shown that he has the biggest ceiling of all, 5 for 161.
That's a good one.
4 for 55 and 2. So I don't know. I just think when you're talking about one of the most explosive offenses and you're talking about the Heisman quarterback that is going to be throwing, you're going to get O'Leary coming out of I just think that he is, for 700 more, he's the best option. Howard, you want to talk about inconsistent. Let's pull up his game logs. 0,
Well,
0,
he's come on lately.
2, 1.
Well, and then the last game he didn't do anything with Hudson Mason, which is why I'm cowering with what I said. But Peterson I like better than O'Leary. I'll stick with that. Do we want to do a Peterson versus O'Leary bet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, totally you guys do.
Yeah. It's like,
All right.
come on, bruh.
So what do we do since he's already getting photoshopped once? What does that mean? Do we get another Photoshop?
No, it means that you have to do something really embarrassing.
Davis has to do something.
I'm not down. I'm not down for all that, dude. I don't do embarrassing things. I'm
Yes.
too gangster for that.
I don't lose bets.
Shave
Davis,
your eyebrows.
So.
Loser shaves their eyebrows.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that.
So basically, what you
Too
guys
pretty.
are saying is what pretty much we already knew. Oh, tight end is just a crapshoot. That's why I would want to pick.
It's Fakes or it's O'Leary, and then they're all of Ben's options are okay, but really what you want, you just need a touchdown out of these guys.
Yeah, and Fakes might be that guy that you want to target because you don't think anyone else is going to target, because he does get the targets. You look at what he's done: 3 for 21, 8 for 96 against Northern Illinois, and he also gets a few carries. So Fakes might be that guy that will win you a tournament.
And Heuerman too, if you're spending 4K.
No, not Heuerman.
Yeah, and Fedorovic gets lots of touchdowns if you're.
There's no way that's how. That is not his name.
Fedorovic?
It's Fedorowicz.
Fedorowicz? I'm not from. I don't. Fedorowicz?
Yeah.
Fedorovic?
I just know that because Chop. That's how Chop says it, and with his Texas accent, it sounds cool.
Yeah, Ben says it like the tennis player.
Federal.
Yep.
It's probably how it is pronounced in
Russia,
Czechoslovakia.
Oh man, Dink says, "Please finish the I'm not from."
I'm not, I don't even know. Let's do it, Ben.
I don't. I'm not from what?
You were saying it.
I don't know what I was saying there.
Oh, you're gonna leave Dink hanging. That's not cool.
Oh man. So this has been the Insiders TV College Football Bowl edition. Any other things you guys want to talk about? I feel like we've covered a lot of the games pretty extensively. This Arkansas State Ball State game is really the game that people probably don't know the most about. Everybody else knows about these other games because most people watching this show have played this season, so you are familiar with all these guys. This Arkansas State Ball State is the game that people are not familiar with. Ben, since you are from Tennessee, can you just expand on this a little?
Because I'm from Tennessee, I should know Ball State and Arkansas State.
I don't know it.
Well, you know what? I have seen a lot of Arkansas State in the past because of MTSU. But yeah, I think Arkansas, and I liked McKissick going into this year. If you look at some of my earlier stuff, their wide receiver McKissick, he is really, really good. Ball State's defense isn't that great. So if you're looking for another sneaky play, McKissick is their best athlete on the whole team. They don't have anybody better than him. Michael Gordon's pretty good. They're running back at 7.1K, but he's kind of very touchdown dependent. So if he doesn't get a lot of touchdowns, he's not going to do a whole lot for you. We talked about winning. Can throw lots of touchdowns. I personally, the only guy I'm getting exposure to, we already talked about it, is Juwan Edwards. I like him at that price. I think he's gonna be
underowned. He's gonna be underowned for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's probably going to wiggle into two of my teams.
Are you saying Juwan?
Yeah, I don't know how to say that. Jashwan?
No, it's Jawan.
No, it's not.
Yes,
It's
it is.
Jawan.
No, it needs a J and a U.
It's Jawan Edwards, y'all. Oh, for real? Oh, you played Jawan? Yeah, I played Jawan, and I won.
There's a guy named Sir Gregory.
Sue Gregory?
It's Sir Gregory. I'm assuming that's how you say it. Is that right, Davis? Do you need to do any more? I mean, you are one T. Matthews.
I don't... Dude, well, here's the thing. Ryan Matthews spells his name with one T, and he's like
he's the only one.
But that's what I'm saying, is he's like one of the only fantasy relevant people with one in his name, so I just got used to spelling it that way.
Wesley Matthews.
Why? When would I ever write that guy up?
Don't take the easy way out on this.
Clay Matthews?
What? No,
yeah.
Stop.
Jordan just mentioned guy on St. John's basketball is named God's Gift. I remember he was with St. John's, had him and two other guys. One's in the pros now. Who was it?
I remember God Shamgod from Providence way back when we were in high school.
Jordan, find out who was the other guy in that team. Let's see. As far as this Arkansas State Ball State game, you guys talked about Jawan. If you want to play Jawan, then why not pair him and see what comes out of it?
Pair him with what? He's a running back.
Doesn't he catch passes too?
I don't think so.
No, he
like
doesn't.
His thing.
So that's why you wouldn't, is what I'm saying.
It would be winning and Sneed, which I don't have any problem with that.
Jawan I like him more for his past than his present. Let's just put it that way. Guy's had double-digit TDs every single year since he was a freshman. He's going to slide under the radar, so I like him.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, there you go. For some reason, I thought he was a wide receiver. No. My bad. Jawan is a running back, which kind of takes that theory out for where I was going. I guess if you wanted to go with it being your McKissack, you pair him with Kennedy. See, maybe he does something.
That's a gutsy play. Nobody would be doing that.
How miserable is it going to be to sweat this tournament over 6 days?
Miserable.
Oh, God.
I would just load up Florida State Auburn and say screw all the other ones.
That's what I'm saying, yo. That is what I'm saying.
You could theoretically do that, too, with Mason, Freeman, heavy Florida State stack, Coates. I mean,
you could do like a non-New Year's Day and then just hope everybody like does terrible.
Do y'all think about that? Serious question. Do y'all think about that? Like, if you're doing a game slate that stretches over several days, do you think about the people that sign up for that day? Because there's a lot of people that will only sign up for like the action that they can get on that day. So they run a team full of players off of that one day. And if you don't like that day, I'm more apt to put entries into that tournament because I want the people playing up people off of that day.
Thursday, Friday NBA on FanDuel. I do. It's juicy.
Mm-hmm. Because it only makes sense because it's human nature to want to. You're putting money down. You want instant gratification. You want it to pay off that night. You don't want to see it stretch out. So you might see lesser Auburn, Florida State, definitely Ball State, Arkansas State because that's a later game. So you're talking those New Year's Day games are going to be heavier owned. I think you're going to see a lot of Baylor ownership. You're going to see a lot of LSU ownership.
Yeah. But that would
like
be
that theory?
smart in my opinion.
What?
That would be smart in my opinion.
Yeah, but there's gonna be so much smart money in this tournament. Like, there's dead money in all these tournaments, but there's gonna be so many guys who are so good at college football that have as many entries as possible. So I don't know if that is a strategy. I'm gonna be trying to play the best players.
You're acting like there's a million good college football players. There's not.
If James Franklin leaves Florida before this game, or there's rumblings about that, there might be a Houston thing.
If he leaves for...
If there's rumblings leading up to this game about him leaving to go to Texas, then you're going to... Yeah, I would really seriously think about going to Houston.
He's not going to Texas.
Just saying.
Holy crap.
I'm just saying. He was the number one on the Penn State list, so he's going to be vaulting.
That's what I was going to say.
List.
Tuttle just put a tweet in the chat box.
No.
So
Tuttle is trolling. Straight trolling. If you click on that, Chris Fowler's last tweet was 2 hours ago.
Oh, what a
Salute
jerk.
to Mac Brown for a superb career. Plus, he handled the final few months at UT with public restraint and admirable grace. However, it is for real that Penn State, they say that James Franklin is Penn State's #1 option. So,
why would he go there though? I mean, I know we're getting off topic, but
yeah.
why would he go to Penn State? Hackenberg? Do you think you can build around Hackenberg? Is that why you go there?
No, you would go.
It's a prestigious job, man.
It's because he's from Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He went to Scranton. He grew up in Scranton.
Hey.
But he is. I agree. You're gonna be. That's just not. It's just not his MO as far as him going and being in the shadow of Joe Pa. Maybe just kind of to resurrect there, but I don't see Penn State. I see like a pro job more than anything. But if Texas came calling, take that job. Take Texas. But he's a mastermind. So no, even if he leaves to go somewhere, they're still going to be. I don't think it's going to change the game too much. If anything, I mean, it's still going to be a low-scoring game.
That stuff. He builds that team. I think it would be demoralizing if stuff like that were to come out before. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying it would be. I'm big on that stuff. Big. Mentality is a lot of sports.
Well, that's why he is amazing.
He is amazing.
You're amazing, Ben.
You are too.
Thank you. I know.
Jesus.
He is amazing too.
Happy birthday.
So with that, we will say goodbye. This has been a fun year, and
yes.
As far as college football goes, one that we are sad to see go, but we'll be back. We'll be back next year.
Old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup o' kindness yet for days of old lang syne.
Oh gosh, it's so beautiful.
About the brace and pull the gowans fine. But we've wandered many weary feet since days of old lang syne. And we pedaled in the barn.
You're not going to be able to see us anymore except for on
till dawn.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays at 3:30 Eastern Time for Insiders TV NBA edition. Also, we might be mixing some stuff up. Wednesday is New Year's, and there's not a whole lot of games on, so we might just be pushing Wednesday's show to Thursday. I just looked today and saw that. So, anyways, that's it. I'm going to go see how bad my NBA teams did. Ben, it's been a pleasure, sir.
It has been a pleasure. I can't wait for MLB. So, we'll be back. It's not over yet. Happy New Year's, everybody.
Davis, Happy New Year, bud.
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Happy New Year's, everyone. This is the part where I get to go to the bar, even though I'm exhausted because DJ in life.
Smart choice.